Hi guys, my name is Billy and let's talk books. Today, we are going to be doing something quite exciting actually, and that is talking about the Goodreads Choice Awards 2025. I love this content at the end of the year where I see booktubers talk about the winners, the categories, all of the nominees, what they would have picked, and kind of talk you through this. So I guess that this year, I get to be involved, and to be honest, this is why I wanted to launch my channel in December. I wasn't quite ready to just yet, I'm not gonna lie, but I was like, I'm gonna kind of do it as quickly as I can because I want to get to this video and also like an end of year wrap up type video, start of new year videos. So I decided to push my schedule ahead. So I thought of a few different ideas of how I would approach the Goodreads of this year, and I'm fairly certain I won't have read any books on these lists. No, I read Sunrise on the Reaping. So I think I've read one book on these lists, but I thought, maybe I could just read the winners. Maybe I could pick an anticipated one. Maybe I could read the highest rated. But in the end, part of the reason I'm starting this channel is because I want to be able to read more for fun. So I thought, how about if I go through each of the categories and pick the one that I personally want to read the most, the one that speaks to me the most, and I do that. Now, I thought that could be fun and that would be an interesting dynamic, but then I also want to kind of get to know what is popular these days, and so I've decided that I'm going to read my choice and the winner from each category in Goodreads, and I can kind of make them battle it out. Was I correct in my initial understanding of which one I wanted to read the most, or were the readers correct and their winner is better than mine? So I think this will just be quite an interesting and fun thing to do. Now, let me talk about how I've done this. I looked at the long list when it was initially announced, and I narrowed it down from the 20 books to a top 5, and then I picked my winner and my runner-up from each category. If there was a book in any of these categories that I had kind of set aside for a different video, I discounted that one, and if one of the choices was a sequel, I would read the first book in the series, or I would look at the first book, and the first book would be the one I considered to put in my top 5. So that's kind of how I've gone about it, and I'm going to talk you through my top 5 choices for each category and my winner and runner-up first. And just to let you know as well, how I decided on my winners was not based on popularity, not based on the rating of the novel, not based on the cover or the author. It was purely based on reading the description and seeing which one was calling to me the most. Let's get started and we will go through each of these categories. The first category is fiction. Now, my top 5 were Cursed Daughters by Oyinkan Braithwaite, What We Can Know by Ian McEwan, The Names by Florence Knapp, People Like Us by Jason Mott, and Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. And I ended up picking Cursed Daughters by Oyinkan Braithwaite. So a young girl is born who resembles her cousin who has died, and the family believe that she is the reincarnation of this cousin. There is also some type of a family curse intertwined in all of this, and the narrative is following her as she tries to break away from certain roles and expectations that have been placed upon her. So this one really spoke to me because I love a story about generations in families. I love stuff about family curses and intergenerational trauma, things like that. So I have a feeling I'm going to really enjoy this one. That was my number 1 pick. If you're interested, my number 2 was The Names by Florence Knapp. Similar reasons actually, because that one follows a character who I believe there's 3 different name choices, and each one shows a different parallel timeline of what could have happened if they were named different names. And again, I really like that idea, but I think that one seemed like very sad from what I was reading in terms of like the themes and things, and I don't want anything too heavy right now, I think. So maybe Cursed Daughters is going to be very heavy, but yeah, that was my pick. Let's move on. The next category is historical fiction. I love historical fiction. I really enjoy reading about literally any time periods, and it's just a great way of understanding what the world was like during those moments. So I really enjoy historical fiction. Now, my top 5 were Strangers in Time by David Baldacci, The First Witch of Boston by Andrea Catalano, The Lilac People by Milo Todd, The Book Club for Troublesome Women by Marie Botswick, and Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. My number 1 pick was The First Witch of Boston by Andrea Catalano. I chose this because it talks about a true story. It kind of is based upon true events in history of Margaret Jones, a woman who was the first woman to be found guilty of witchcraft. And this is set in 17th century America in like a very Puritan community. And I hear that it's got quite a lot of research behind it. So I was really fascinated by this because I love witches. I love the history of witches and how that links to women and how women were persecuted in the past. One of my favorite plays of all time is The Crucible. So yeah, this one was just really calling to me. My runner-up was The Book Club for Troublesome Women because I just love books and I love some troublesome women, and I think that could have been fun, but it didn't quite beat out The First Witch of Boston for me. The next category is mystery and thriller, and I haven't really read any mystery and thriller, to be honest. So I was quite interested in this category. I want to read a bit more mystery and thriller, and my top 5 were We Are All Guilty Here by Karen Slaughter, Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister, You Killed Me First by John Mars, The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, and The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark. So my winner was The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark. This had like a lot of elements in it. So this follows a story where 2 siblings are found dead and the surviving brother faces accusations that he was somehow involved. Now we move forward and he becomes a horror writer, and that kind of like exasperates these accusations against him. And his daughter is a ghostwriter, which is fascinating. But she agrees to ghostwrite his final novel, and it ends up being that this novel calls into question what happened in the past because he wants to tell the story and give away some more information. So she kind of like is intertwined in this mystery of what happened to the sisters. Yeah, this was my choice. I think that it sounds really interesting because it delves into the idea of writing, ghostwriting, and horror fiction as well in terms of the mystery. And it just sounds really good. I feel like this is going to be right up my street, so I'm very excited. My number 2 was We Are All Guilty Here by Karen Slaughter. But yeah, The Ghostwriter, that was the one for me. And I know I said I wasn't going off of covers either, but this had a fantastic cover. The romance category. So we have Taurus Season by Bryn Weaver, If It Makes You Happy by Julie Olivia, First Time Caller by B.K. Borison, Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, and Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. Okay, so there's a lot in this category that intimidates me because I'm not the biggest romance reader, but I am interested in reading some more romance. I'm still really struggling, honestly, between my number 1 and number 2 picks. I'll tell you what they both are. So I've got Taurus Season by Bryn Weaver, which is currently my number 1 pick, and then First Time Caller by B.K. Borison is my number 2 pick. Now, initially I chose Taurus Season because it was the one that kind of spoke to me the most. This follows 2 kind of serial killers that get intertwined in this small town, and when a journalist, I think they like want to take each other out, but then when a journalist comes along suspecting them, they form a bit of a truce, and I guess it turns into a romance. So that just sounds really fun to me. Like, it's a nice blending of genre, and I love when novels take more than one genre and kind of blend them together. But then part of me is a little bit like, is that cheating by choosing this in the romance because it's more like in my wheelhouse? And you know what, honestly, I think that it is. I'm so sorry, I really want to read this, so tell me if you think that I should. But I'm gonna go for First Time Caller by B.K. Borison because this feels more rom-com-y and a good time. Now, I do really love a rom-com, so I feel like this is gonna give me those vibes. So this follows a host of a romance hotline, Aidan, and a girl Lucy calls in to get some information and some advice on her mother's dating life, and this goes viral on the internet. So the 2 end up being intertwined and kind of thrust into the limelight, and I don't know, it sounds like a fun time. It sounds silly and enjoyable and comedic, and I'm hoping that I really like it. So yeah, I wasn't sure which one I was going to pick until this moment, but that one just felt right. So we're going to go with that one. The next category is Romantasy, and I'm very out of my depth with Romantasy. I haven't read any Romantasy. I guess you could say some of the novels I read when I was a teenager might be considered Romantasy, because from what I know, it's like very heavy romance and fantasy in one. And I've definitely read novels like that, but from a long time ago. So I am both excited, intrigued, and scared to get into this category. My top 5: Silver Elite by Danny Francis, Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross, The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett, and Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. Okay, so my winner is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. And this is basically about Sybil, who is called a diviner. So she dreams and has kind of prophetic dreams where she is able to predict the future. And lots of people seek her out to try and understand and know what their future is going to be. So one day a night arrives and she dreams of a moth, which is the death omen. And after this point, the diviners start to vanish. So she takes it upon herself to go on a mission to try and find them, and teams up with the knight, and they go off on this journey. So this is my number 1 because I love the idea of dreams and prophetic dreams, and I also love knights. I'm a big fantasy girly. I'm a big fan of knights, and so kind of the melding of these two worlds, kind of like the medieval knight and the prophetic dreamer, that just sounds really intriguing to me. So that is my choice for this one. My runner-up was Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. I can't remember what this one's about now, but it was my runner-up. So the next category is fantasy, one of my favorite categories, one I'm most excited about, and I wasn't sure about this one, what to pick, but we went for The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson, The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, The Will of the Many by James Islington, Red City by Mary Lou, and The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. So my number 1 choice for this was The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. So this kind of follows kind of a competition. So I believe the emperor dies, and to find the new emperor, they run a competition. But when this competition begins, one of the competitors is murdered. And so our main character, Nima, replaces this character and has to figure out what happened to them and also compete while she's doing so. So this one spoke to me because I just love a competition. I love things that are just like tasks, there's trials, and people have to win them, and it's just fun. So yeah, that was why I picked this one. And my runner-up was Red City by Mary Lou, which also sounded really good. I had a hard time picking between these two, but yeah, I put The Will of the Many on here as well because I'm really keen to read that one. That one's been on my TBR for a couple of years now, I believe, since it came out, but I think I'm going to use that for a different video. So yeah, I'm going to leave that one. The next category is science fiction, and I love a bit of sci-fi, so yeah. My top 5 were The Book of Lost Hours by Hailey Gelfuso, Shroud by Adrian Tchaikovsky, Luminous by Sylvia Park, The Once and Future Me by Melissa Pace, and The Compound by Aisling Rawle. I ended up going with The Book of Lost Hours. So this one really intrigues me, to be honest. Let me tell you the summary first. So the time space is a library which contains memories of people who have passed on, and this kind of stores their memories. So a young girl finds herself trapped in 1938 waiting for her father to find her. However, at the same time, government agents are entering the time space, this library, to try to destroy some of the books and maintain their version of history. She's trying to save the memories, and I know that it features multiple time periods and characters. So yeah, this was immediately my winner, to be honest. I'm a big fan of multiple timelines. The idea of libraries is a big one for me. I was a librarian for a couple of years, so I love libraries, and I also really enjoy this conversation about books being the placeholder of memory and allowing us to learn about the past and how books get banned and books get burnt, and how that is because it's to take away knowledge from people. I think that books are knowledge, and being able to hold on to those things is so vital. So honestly, this just kind of has a bit of everything that I enjoy. So yeah, this was my number 1 immediately. Let's move on to horror. Another genre I haven't delved too far into, but I really want to. So my top 5: Bat Eater by Kylie Lee Baker, How Bad Things Can Get by Darcy Coates, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix, What Hunger by Catherine Dang, and The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. So my winner here was Bat Eater by Kylie Lee Baker, and the summary of this one is that Cora Zeng is a crime scene cleaner. She goes around cleaning up crime scenes after something has happened, which in itself immediately pulled me. I was like, what a great protagonist. I want to know more. It's said that she witnessed a really horrifying event where her sister was pushed in front of a train and the murderer whispered Bat Eater as it happened. So this character, Cora Zeng, is going and doing her cleanups, but she's noticing that all the recent cleanups have been East Asian women. And also she is finding dead bats at crime scenes. That's kind of a summary of that one. This one immediately sounds fantastic. I'm really intrigued by the premise. I love the highlighting of East Asian women. I'm assuming this is like very relevant to our current time period with COVID and the attacks that were happening against Asian people, especially in America. So I'm really interested in reading this. I hope that it ties together these elements of horror and also social commentary. I thought that was really interesting. I had a really hard time picking between this one and my number 2, which was The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, because that one also does a similar thing where it talks about Native American history, and I'm very interested in that as well and learning more about that. And I just love this idea of combining these two things together in the horror genre. So I'm really keen to read that as well. I've put it on my TBR, but sadly it was beaten out in this round by Bat Eater. Maybe it won though. Hopefully, then I'd get to read both. That would be great. Okay, next one. The debut novel. So this one had The Lilac People by Milo Todd, The Eights by Joanna Miller, The Witch's Orchard by Archer Sullivan, The Names again by Florence Knapp, and Junie by Erin Crosby Eckstein. So this one did actually have 2 of my runners up on it, The Names and The Lilac People. I had these on other lists of mine as well, but I ended up going for The Eights by Joanna Miller. So this novel follows 4 women in the very first female class at Oxford and how they kind of approach the misogyny of the time, try to learn in a university setting, and they also trying to come of age and understand the world around them following World War I. So this is set in 1920. This one really fascinated me because, you know, having been in academia for 10 years, the university setting is kind of like fresh in my mind and a really big like obsession of mine. So especially this is set in Britain as well. So it just felt like there's a lot in here that I could really relate to and pull from. And I just want to learn a bit more about the experience that women face when they first went to university. So yeah, that was my winner. The next category is audiobook. I will tell you my top 5. Pride and Prejudice, The Correspondent by Virginia Evans, Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall, The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, and We Are All Guilty Here by Karen Slaughter. This one, again, really hard to choose between my 1 and 2. I'm going to do the same thing again where I tell you both and then I choose. So my number 1 is currently We Are All Guilty Here by Karen Slaughter, and my number 2 is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. Okay, I'm really not sure about this one. So one of them is a mystery thriller, which I'm saying I want to read more of, and it was my runner-up in the mystery thriller section. So that is pulling me towards that, but it's also not really the genre I tend to read. And then the other one is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, and I've been dying to read the Blade Itself series. I feel like I'm gonna love it, but I just haven't got around to it yet. And that was in my top 5 for fantasy, I believe. Fantasy is more my wheelhouse. I've read a lot more fantasy and I enjoy a lot more fantasy, so I feel like I should push the boat out a little bit and go for a thriller. And also maybe it would be better to read The Blade Itself before I read The Devils. I'm really sad about it though. It is going to be audiobook as well actually, and I feel like it's easier to follow a thriller in audiobook form than a fantasy in audiobook form because I like to get a bit more in depth and like slower with fantasy. So yeah, that makes my decision. I'm going to go with We Are All Guilty Here by Karen Slaughter. So this is set in a small town where 2 teenage girls vanish, which is pretty much what I know as the plot for every mystery thriller I've ever heard of, to be honest, but I'm going to finally figure out what all the fuss is about. It basically is about uncovering what secrets the town is hiding, what happened to these girls. And yeah, I've heard of Karen Slaughter before as well, so she must be quite a popular author. That is my choice for the audiobook. Next category, young adult fantasy and sci-fi. This is another category I very much enjoy. I haven't read much YA though in a long time, so I don't know if I'll still enjoy it, but we'll see. My top 5 are Immortal Consequences by Ivy Marie, This Woven Kingdom by Tahira Mafi, Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli, Legend Born by Tracy Dion, and Iron Widow by Ziran J. Zhao. I have chosen Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli. Now, I believe this might be the first one that has won, which the sequel was actually nominated, but I'm reading the first in the series. So I hope that's okay, by the way. I just didn't really know a way around it, and I didn't want to discount the book completely. Maybe the first one in the series isn't as good, but I'm assuming that if it's made the list, then at least people enjoy the series. I also was really keen on Legend Born, which was my second choice, but I think I'm going to save that for a different video. So I'm going to go with Heartless Hunter. So in this world, it is only the elites who have powers, and this has been gifted by a plague that has swept the nation. And then the other people are called ordinary, and they are banished from the realm. They are given a lower class status. So our main character, Payden, poses as a psychic to blend in with the elites. In a chance encounter, she saves one of the princes and is basically put into what is called the Purging Trials, which is a competition to showcase the power of elites. Once again, a competition which I very much enjoy. And I also like this idea of like, how on earth, like when I read this, I was like, how on earth, if she doesn't have powers, is she going to compete in a competition and showcase powers? So I'm just quite intrigued by how that's going to happen. And yeah, I also think that it just sounds quite fun, easy to read. So that was why I picked this one. Next category is young adult fiction. Now, my top 5 were We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, Sisters in the Wind by Angeline Bowley, The Scammer by Tiffany D. Jackson, When Devils Sing by Zan Carr, and The Thrashers by Julie Soto. I've just realized maybe I've pronounced some of these authors wrong. I do apologize. I haven't actually checked up the pronunciation of any of them. I'm just going off of how I think they're pronounced, so hopefully that's fine. But yes, so my winner here is The Thrashers by Julie Soto. Now, this is about an elite group of friends called the Thrashers, and our protagonist is kind of like pulled into this group. I don't think she was necessarily a part of it. I really hope my audio has been okay. I think I just messed it up, but hopefully it's not been for that long. So our main character Jodie is kind of part of this group, but basically a girl who wanted to join the group ends up dead, and whispers start to begin about the Thrashers and this kind of society. Now, I chose this because it gave me very much Pretty Little Liar vibes, and I enjoyed that show when I was younger. I like this idea of like mean girls and murder and mystery and what's happening, so I thought this could be a fun time. My second choice was When Devils Sing by Zan Carr, but yeah, I went with this one because it just seemed like a fun old time. The next category is the non-fiction category, and I tend to read only non-fiction that is kind of about sociological issues, so I don't read that much non-fiction outside of that, but yeah, we'll see what's on here. So we've got The New Age of Sexism by Laura Bates, The Book of Alchemy by Soleiki Jowd, Enshisification by Cory Doctorow, One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar El Akkad, and Black in Blues by Imani Perry. Now, my number one choice for this, really hard again, because I had 3 that I was quite keen on reading. I ended up choosing Enshisification by Cory Doctorow. So I had a conversation about this in a recent semester at university. In one of my seminars, we were talking about this concept, and I found it very fascinating. It kind of like blew my mind a little bit. So I really wanted to learn more about it. I felt like I had a bit of a personal stake in this one. So I am quite happy with my choice. I also think that the One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This feels very relevant and important for the times, and I would really like to read that as well. But I saw that it was also kind of classed as memoir, and we have a memoir section later on, so I thought I'd go with the Enshisification, but I think I'm going to put that One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This on my TBR as well. This novel by Cory Doctorow, basically it talks about the tech landscape and platforms, and how each of our platforms start off as this amazing, thing for the public, social medias and search engines and things like that. It's like this really amazing thing. It's free, it works really well, and it provides something really beneficial to our lives. But then over time, this starts to change, and the big corporations and tech giants have certain things in place where they kind of twist it and flip it on its head so that they can make money from it. And it's really fascinating, and I'm quite intrigued by this because this is something I've really experienced with the online world, especially like Twitter. I found this with a lot, and maybe Facebook back in the day. But you really appreciate a platform and you love it, and Reddit as well, and it's just such a great thing. And then slowly it just disintegrates and becomes worse and worse and worse, and I've always wondered why that is. So I'm hoping that this book will give me some answers. The next category is memoir. Now this is the category that I honestly least want to read. I really don't enjoy memoirs. I never really have. I just don't find it that interesting. There's a lot of like merit to hearing people's stories, but I think just having like a whole novel about one person's experience just has never really called to me. But I might read some of these and really enjoy them, so I'm going to be open-minded. But my top 5: Nobody's Girl by Virginia Roberts Guthrie, Things in Nature Merely Grow by Yi Yin Lee, Mother Mary Comes to Me by Arundhati Roy, Finding My Way by Malala Yousafzai, and Semi Well Adjusted by Alison Stoner. And my winner was the Malala memoir. So this follows Malala as she tries to find her place in the world and, just be a normal young woman after such a huge life-changing experience happened to her and she was thrust into the limelight. So I think this will be a nice and interesting read. I am very interested in Malala. I think she's a very inspirational woman. So I'm interested in learning more about her story. Final category then is history and biography, and my top 5 are Jane Austen's Bookshelf by Rebecca Romney, The Zorg by Siddharth Kara, The Devil Reached Toward the Sky by Garrett M. Graff, Original Sins by Eve L. Ewing, and How to Kill a Witch by Claire Mitchell and Zoe Venditozzi. Oh, that's been the biggest struggle so far. Hopefully I get it right. I'll have to say it again now because my winner is How to Kill a Witch by Claire Mitchell and Zoe Venditozzi. So this one follows the history of the witch trials, once again in Scotland though, and written by the hosts of the Witches of Scotland podcast. Okay, so I already explained that I really like the history of witchcraft and the oppression of women, but also I have a lineage of Scottish women and it's quite personal to me. My grandma was Scottish and always would talk to me about witchcraft and Scotland, and so it's quite a personal connection for me there. I'm very excited to learn a bit more about my roots and my history, and there was a lot of accused witches in my family, so yeah, this one is a very exciting one for me. But that is all of my choices. Those are my top 5s. Maybe it gave you a bit of an idea on like what I gravitate towards, but those are the ones that I have picked. And what I'm going to do now is go onto the Goodreads website once again, see where my pick ended up, and also see what won that category and what I will be pitting against my choices this year. Okay, so here we are on the Goodreads website, and we're going to go now and click on our see the winners. Let's have a look. I only want to look at them one by one, so I'm going to have to avert my eyes. Right, let me see what I can do. Okay, only look at the top. Okay. Can I see it one by one? Okay, if I just click on this one. I probably look absolutely ridiculous right now. Can we just see? Okay, right. Here we go. So our favorite fiction is My Friends by Frederick Backman. Now, this wasn't on my top 5, but I have heard of Frederick Backman. I'm currently reading one of his novels, actually, Anxious People, and I know he's a really popular author. So, okay, I'm going to be putting Frederick Backman up against my choice, which came in... Oh, here it is. Oh, what? It doesn't have the numbers, right? 4, 8, 12, 13th place. Okay, so 1 versus 13 is what we're going to be going on in this one. Historical fiction. Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This doesn't surprise me. I know that she's a very, very popular author. I haven't read any of her works yet. So I guess this will be my first one. I mean, I have intentions to read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo soon, but I guess Atmosphere will be my first one. So Atmosphere, number 1, is going up against my number 3 pick, which is The First Witch of Boston. But wow, look at the difference in the votes. 31,000 to 254,000. Wow, that's huge. Okay, that is our historical. Mystery and thriller. The winner is Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. I believe Holly Jackson is the author of a really popular YA series. Is that right? I see her books in the library a lot in the YA section, but I can't remember which series it is. But okay, sure, Not Quite Dead Yet. I guess she's written an adult thriller. So that is number 1 going up against my... here it is. So that's 4, 8, 12, 15. Mine is in 15th place. Okay, interesting. Right, romance. Great Big Beautiful Life is the winner by Emily Henry. Of course, I've heard of Emily Henry, one of the huge giants of romance, and one of the only authors whose romance novel I have actually read. So yeah, I've got a video coming out on me reading some popular romance for the first time, and I read Beach Read in that video. So I have read one Emily Henry, so it would be nice to read a second one. And my choice is coming in at 7th place here. Okay, so still quite high, still in the top 10. All right, where was the other one that I chose? Tourist Season, that's closer to the end. What is that one? Is that going to be 16th? Okay, I still really want to read that one. I'm sure I will at one point. Romantasy. Okay, Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. So, of course, I also know about this. I have Fourth Wing. I've been meaning to read it. I haven't been meaning to read it for another video, but I guess I could do it here. So obviously I can't read Onyx Storm because I haven't read any of the others, but I can read Fourth Wing, which I am excited about and intimidated by, but also super excited. And my choice, which is here, which is The Knight and the Moth, number 3, 3rd place. Oh wow, and Alchemized came in 2nd. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to be reading Fourth Wing. We're going to be doing it. I'm excited. Fantasy. The winner, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. Right, okay. So I've also just read my first V.E. Schwab novel, which was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and that will be coming out in a video soon as well. So again, another popular author that I'm getting to read a second book by. I'm quite happy about that. I want to delve more into these authors. Oh, and R.F. Kuang came in 2nd place. Also just read one of R.F. Kuang's novels, Yellowface. Where is my choice? I can't remember what I chose for fantasy now. I'm sure I'll see it. The Raven Scholar. Yes, The Raven Scholar. So that has come in at number 9. Still in the top 10. All right. Sci-fi. The Compound by Aisling Rawle. Okay. I was really intrigued by this one, honestly. Like, it felt like a little bit more silly and pop culture-y, but I quite like that. I think that learning about the sociological side of like the world around us, reality TV, why that's popular, why social media is popular, all these types of things is very fascinating. So I was quite interested in this one as well. It was in my top 5. Oh, look, The Book of Lost Hours came in 2nd. Oh, that's really good to know. Oh, so I'll be reading number 1 and 2 in this one. Oh, I'm happy about that. Okay. Horror. Next is horror. The winner is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This was in my top 5, so I'm very happy about this. That's going to be fun. Oh, Buffalo Hunter Hunter. I really want to read that. Like I said, I've added it to my want to read list. But my choice, Bat Eater, is coming in at number 6 here. So we've got 1 versus 6. Okay, I'm doing quite well actually. Quite a lot of my choices have ended up in the top 10, which I'm pretty impressed by. Okay, next, debut. Okay, Alchemized, Doesn't Surprise Me by Senlin Yu has come in 1st place. I'm in 2 minds about this. I read Manacled back in the day. I was a big Hermione fan. I used to love reading Hermione fan fiction. So I have read Manacled back in the day. It was a while ago though. But I'm a bit apprehensive to read anything associated with that world. As much as I love Harry Potter and the Harry Potter series, it's tricky when the author is using her platform in the way that she is, and I don't want to be a part of that. I'm not sure if Alchemize would be considered that. I know Sen-Lin Yu is a separate author, so this is a bit difficult for me to decide. I'll think on it. Maybe if you could give me some comments on your perspective on this conversation, and I'll go from there. But I would like to read it. I would read it for sure. I think that from what I remember, Sen-Lin Yu had a great writing style. I enjoyed Manacle back in the day. If not, I'll be reading number 2, which is The Names by Florence Knapp, which was my runner-up in the fiction category. But let's see where my choice came in. I'm trying to remember what I picked for this one now. I guess I'll see it when it comes up. The Eights. The Eights was my choice, and that is number 17 out of 20. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. Audiobook. Okay, so the winner is Onyx Storm. How am I going to do this? Onyx Storm, because that's Fourth Wing again, but that's already been chosen. The number 2 is Atmosphere, which has already been chosen. The number 3 is the new Harry Potter, which I'm definitely not doing. The number 4 is Great Big Beautiful Life, which has already been chosen. And then My Friends, which has already been chosen. There's the new Pride and Prejudice, which I'd be interested in. I love the novel, and if it's a new audiobook of that and it's been highly rated, maybe I would enjoy that. I'm not sure what to do on this category. Right, where is my choice? So I went with We Are All Guilty Here by Karen Slaughter, and that is number 16. Okay, so I guess what I can either do is read, well, this is going to be listening as well, audiobook. So maybe I can choose my winner here, because I'm going to be reading a lot of these anyway. Yeah, okay, so I tell you what, I'm going to pick one. I'm not sure whether to go for The Devils or Tourist Season, because these are the two that I both really want to get to. Like I said about The Devils, though, I am a bit unsure about reading that in audiobook form, so I'm going to go with Tourist Season. Yes, I wanted to read it. I talked about it. We're going to do it as an audiobook, Tourist Season, and hopefully that's okay. I just don't really know another way around this. I mean, unless I listen to the second Fourth Wing novel on audiobook. Tell me what you think. Let me know what you think about this one. Let's move on. Young adult fantasy and sci-fi. Of course, Sunrise on the Reaping is the winner, which I have already read and gave 5 stars, as you can see. So I guess I'll read the number 2. Is this a sequel? Yes. Okay, so I'll be reading the first in the series, which is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. So that will be the one that I will be placing up against my choice, which is... Yeah, it was this one, wasn't it? The Kristen Ciccarelli, because that's also a sequel. So I guess number 2 and 3, and then I will have, well, kind of, because it's the first in the series, but I will have kind of read books 1, 2, and 3 on here. Okay, that's what we'll be doing. Young adult fiction. Fake Skating. Okay. Again, I'm a bit intimidated by romances, but it might be a good time. Let's see. I'm open-minded. I'm always open-minded. So we'll be reading Fake Skating, which came at number 1. And my choice, The Thrashers, came at number 10. Okay. Right, non-fiction. Let's get these over with. Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green, who, of course, I know. I read a lot of John Green books when I was a teenager. I really like his way of speaking and his way of writing, so I'm quite excited about this, actually. It sounds like an interesting premise as well. Like, tuberculosis, of course, you see it everywhere, especially in history. So, yeah, I'm excited to read that. Let's see where mine came. Mine was Enshittification by Cory Doctorow, which has come in 12th? Yes, 12th place. Okay, I'm excited about that. Memoir. The winner is The House of My Mother, A Daughter's Quest for Freedom. Yeah, I believe this is about the young girl who, yes, was featured on a YouTube channel. Okay, so it says here the potential toxicity of influencer culture and the peril of cultish life coaching programs. Interesting. Okay, I'm interested in that. I think that would be quite a fascinating perspective to have, actually. So I'm quite interested in that. I really enjoyed Bethany Joy Lenz's memoir. This year, it was like one of the only memoirs I've really loved, and that talked a lot about abuse as well and cults. So yeah, I'm excited for that one. Oh, I didn't check when mine came. Oh, Malala, number 2. So number 1 and 2 again in this. And last but not least, history and biography. Oh, hey, we finally had one. Oh, my number 1 was the winner. Look at that. How to Kill a Witch. Oh, that's great. Okay, so I guess I'll read number 2. And number 2 is going to be Jane Austen's Bookshelf. Now, here's the question though. Do I read Goodreads number 2 or do I read my number 2? So the Goodreads number 2 is Jane Austen's Bookshelf, which was on my top 5. I am interested in. I think that I love Jane Austen. I'd like to know more about the women who were writing around that time. That could be fun. What was my number 2? I think my number 2 was Original Sins, which is all about the school system and how it doesn't work and isn't designed for certain groups of people to thrive, which also sounds really interesting. I'm in 2 minds. Oh, I need to pick though, because I want this video to be done where you know exactly what I'm going to be reading. Even though there are a couple of sections in here. I tell you what, it's nice to have a couple of surprises. So I'm going to leave this one for now. We'll have Jane Austen's Bookshelf and we'll have Original Sins, and it will be between those 2 on what I read, and maybe I'll decide on the day which one to read, and the same with the audiobook. Oh no, I did choose the audiobook, didn't I? Can't even remember myself. But yeah, this one I'm going to decide on the day. So there you have it. Those are my number 1 and the Goodreads Choice number 1 for every category in the 2025 Goodreads Choice Awards. I'm so excited to get into this and intimidated. Now, I want to just make clear that this is my very first foray into BookTube. I still work as well, so I know this is going to be a bit difficult for me. I read 29 books last year, and this is 30 books that I'm wanting to do for this video. So I think what I'm going to say, I'm going to give myself 3 months to complete this. It's going to take me a while, and maybe you will have moved on from the Goodreads Choice Awards by then, but I'm going to try and do 5 categories every month and go from there. Hopefully I can manage that. I'll keep you updated on my progress, but the first video should be coming out next month, hopefully the beginning of the month in February. Yeah, I'm going to aim to get that first video out then, and that will be the first 5 categories on this list. So I will put them here, what I will be reading in January and what we'll be releasing in February. I'm very excited. There's a lot of authors, books and series here that I've wanted to get into that are very popular, and I want to know if my choice or Goodreads Choice's choice is better. So that's going to be fun. Now I better get going. I hope that you've enjoyed today's video and are excited for what's to come. I've really enjoyed this, and yeah, hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please tell me what you voted for in each of these categories. What was your number 1, and are you surprised by the winner? What do you think about my choices? Do you think that it was good? Are there any that you're particularly looking forward to me reading? I really want to know your thoughts about those. So please let me know down in the comments. Like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe if you want to see more of this journey. And thank you very much. I hope to see you again soon. Bye.